What's up? I'm Incarnation, and welcome to the SEER site, a site for seers. Just sit back, relax, and let's see. Hello and welcome back to the SEER site podcast. I am your host, Incarnation. So, we've taken a tour of the Library of Light, the Akashic Library, and we have reviewed what a soul scroll is and how it is a summary of our many lives and experiences and things like that. In today's episode, I would like to share with you some of the things in my Akashic record, some of my past life experiences, and how I experienced them. And so I'd like to start out with a gladiator story, or with what I call a gladiator story. Now, again, born and raised in Christianity, and in the philosophy that you're born, you serve God, and when you die, you go to another place for eternity. Very basic belief, very ignorant belief. But this is how I was raised. And I had never heard of the concept of reincarnation, just never heard of it. But I have this ability, this trait, that whenever I look into the eyes of particular people, I would get visions, or I would see reels or videos, or I didn't know what I was seeing, but I was seeing something different than what was before my eyes. And the first experience started in first grade. So I'm on the playground in first grade, and I'm in a fight with this kid that's in my class. And we're not punching or anything, but this kid's a little bigger than me and has my shirt, and I grab his shirt, and we were just both mad at each other, just raging. And at some point, when I looked into his eyes, I didn't see the boy that was in front of me. But what was in front of me was something strange, and it wasn't just what I was seeing, but what I was hearing was different than the playground chatter. But I didn't understand this. So me and this kid, we got into trouble. I think we got paddles. And at this elementary school, over the next few grades, like first through part of third, me and this kid would fight all the time or play all the time. And that's all we ever did with each other. Now, the elementary school that I went to wasn't a school in my district. My parents had to drive me to a babysitter's house on the other side of town, and I went to the elementary school that was across the street from her house. So this is far from where I lived. So this really wasn't my school district. And yet, here I am for these first 3 grades, where I'm in the same classes with this same kid each year, and we're either playing or we're fighting. Now, at some point, I would say at the end or mid 3rd grade, my family moves from our house to an entire different side of town from where we presently lived and from where this school was. So I would never be going to this school, probably never see that kid again. But we moved to this whole other neighborhood in another part of town. And would you believe that my backyard, the corner of my backyard, is now shared with the corner of this kid's backyard? So I have just moved to an entire different part of town that was out of my school district, out of the school district that we had both been going to school in, and now we are backyard neighbors, me and this kid, which means new school, new experiences. And so through the rest of elementary school, 4th, 5th, 6th, we went to school together and went to middle school together. And through the years, me and this kid would either play or fight. And that was it. I would say he and I were the very definition of you win some, you lose some. And so we would fight, over and over and over again, or play. Now, that, seeing this kid, and every time we would fight, I would have similar videos or sites when I would fight this kid. And it seemed to always happen just with him. So after moving to this new place, I'm in a new elementary school, and I'm in 4th grade now. They have just started having music classes, band classes. So we get into this class, and the teacher is going to be teaching us, I guess, classical music. And so she's got all these pictures of these different instruments and describes to us what they're used for and what an orchestra is and how we are going to be learning this type of music. And I had never heard any other music at this point other than like gospel or the R&B radio station in my community, WVKO. Other than that, I had never heard of classical music. So in this first class, the teacher wants to teach us about the rhythms and the beats of orchestral music. So she has this pedestal, a 2-step pedestal that has bars around it. And she lines each of us kids up so that we each can step up on this pedestal, where she's going to give us a stick, or it looked like a chopstick to me. And she wanted us to mimic the rhythm of the orchestral music she was going to be playing. And when she starts playing this music, it was like magic. I never heard of this before in this life. So I get up on the pedestal, teacher gives me the chopstick, and she plays the music. And this was so vivid. So I close my eyes when I hear the music, and I start to make the motions that I thought the teacher wanted us to make. However, when my eyes are closed, I don't see me or anything that is recognizable. What I do see is I am an old white man with gray hair and a bald spot in the middle. And I'm wearing this black kind of suit, different from the suits that I would see at my church, but I was in a black suit. And in front of me were all these people. And I was directing or moving my hands to the instruments in this thing I was seeing. And though it felt like I was there for a while, it was only a few seconds so that the teacher could get each of us in line. And I remember distinctly that when she turned the music off and I opened my eyes, she looked at me and did this and said this, done this before, have you? And again, I didn't understand that at the time. But in that retrospect, in that memory, I flowed. It was something so natural that the teacher caught on to it. But again, I didn't know what was going on. And this was just kind of normal because I had seen other things, but these were the first two that really kicked in this experience of seeing things in people's eyes, some people's eyes, or in visions I had of myself. So, back to this kid. I have this experience with him on the playground in first grade, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm seeing. So we're in this new house. I might be 9, 10 years old at this time. And my mother is watching this movie called Demetrius and the Gladiators. And it was a Saturday. I had been playing outside. Back in those days, you had to play outside on Saturdays. And so I came in and my mother was watching this movie. And I remember looking at it and said, "Hey, that's it." And my mom was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I've seen that before." But I didn't know what I was seeing. So I sat down and watched this movie with my mom. And it was called Demetrius and the Gladiators. I can't really explain it, but I'm seeing this movie and it's showing scenes and sounds that were similar to what I was seeing in the eyes of this kid. And it is for this reason we will call him Gladiator. I don't want to embarrass him by using a name, but I call him Gladiator. So it's 30 years later. I meet this new girl. We've been friends for about 2 months. And one night we're at my house and I'm like, "You want to go dancing or something?" She's like, "Yeah, where you want to go?" I'm like, "Well, let's go. What about salsa dancing?" She's like, "Yeah, cool. But, we don't want to go out there like no scrubs and stuff." So I was like, "But maybe we should practice first, just so we don't go out there looking stupid and shit, And she understood that. And so I throw a CD in and have some music start playing. So the music starts playing and, she stands in front of me. And at this time, when I'm facing her in my living room at this house that I'm losing, there is an entertainment center where I had this big screen TV. And then there was a fireplace right beside it along a wall on the side. So she steps up to me and we put our hands up together. And once our hands touch, I look into her eyes as the music's playing so that we can start dancing. Instead, my entire life soul changes. Because when we touch hands, that's the one thing. But when I look into this woman's eyes, behind her, my TV and the wall starts to disappear from left to right, all the way around me. And as it's disappearing, it's being replaced by other scenery. And it was so vivid and so shocking. It still affects me to this day that I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. So I break contact with her and I back up and my legs are weak. And yet everything around me is no longer my house. It is. But it is something completely different. And so I sit down on the couch and I'm just trying to catch my breath. And so she looks at me, panicked. "Are you okay?" And I yell at her, "Do you not see this shit?" And so she's like, "What?" Because she is seeing nothing. And sorry that I'm getting choked up, but it is such a prevalent, life-changing moment and this was the reaction I had then. I just couldn't breathe. Okay. So, so she's asking, what's wrong? And I'm like, are you not seeing this shit? Are you really not seeing this shit? And it kind of startled her because, we're new friends kind of, and I'm having this episode that I kind of snap at her. And she's like, what's going on? And so she came and sat beside me, and it took me so long to gather myself. And as I'm gathering myself, the scene that has now appeared starts to dissipate, and I am back in my home. So when I come to my senses, I explain to her what I just saw. And it wasn't particularly just what I saw, but what I remembered. Now, remember again, I've had episodes of just, visions in people's eyes or visions of things I just couldn't understand about myself. But in this vision was, to this day, the most prevalent, the most vivid. And so I explained to her how my TV entertainment center and the fireplace started to disappear. And as it was disappearing, it was reappearing with what looked like something like ancient Egypt. And at the same time, I knew who I was. I knew who she was. And that in this time, I was somebody who was really big. Really big. I wasn't the pharaoh. I told her that. I said, I wasn't like a pharaoh, but I was way up there. And then I explained to her that in what I just saw, she wasn't who she was, but that she was a little girl. She was 12 years old. And that it felt like she was my daughter. And that when we grabbed hands and I looked into her eyes, she was this little girl standing on my feet as we were about to dance. And that it felt like the exact same position that our bodies were in this Egyptian episode. At the same time, and by this time I'm 39, 38, and I've had many of these encounters in people's eyes. What this experience did, and I told her, it felt like a past life. Like I was there, we were there. It was thick, it was tangible. I had the memories of this life. And then all these memories or visions from the things I had seen in myself and things I had seen in the eyes of others came rushing like a tsunami. And the onslaught was so palpable that I couldn't breathe again, And here I am, tough deputy sheriff, got this new girl that I'm kicking it with, and here I am crying. I can't breathe. I'm hyperventilating. And I just couldn't help it. And so all through that night, I bare my soul this girl like, look, all my life I've seen shit and I never understood it. And even told her, and not saying that I believe it now, but it felt like I remember so much shit in that small span from so many different times, epochs, eras. It was very, very overwhelming. And so it brought me back, first and foremost, to my friend, the gladiator. Now, If he ever hears this, no, I love you. And you were one of my greatest teachers and one of my greatest memories, because you and me, brother, it wasn't just the days of gladiators that we kicked it. Oh, we've kicked it in the highlands of Scotland. You and I, my boy, have been many places. So our lives together, my brother, have been more intertwined, through the cosmos of Indra's net than I had realized at the time. And I love you. So how does that affect this current life? Taught me to be a fighter. Now, on the other side, it turns out now I have never seen this kid, this man, since. We went our own separate ways. I moved to Cali. I don't know what happened in his life, throughout his life, but in reconnecting with him, my gladiator friend got into arena wrestling. And so these are the whispers of the soul that cause us to repeat certain things. We danced in the arenas for survival then. I danced in arenas for survival in this life as he danced in the arenas of his making in this life. Full circle. We live in circles, not in lines. And so it turns out that this girl, we have now been together for 18 years. And one of the caveats of having these type of memories is seeing her for not just what she is, but what she has been. And I'll just put it out there. She has been my mother in Ireland. She has also been my husband in Ireland. Go figure. When I was a woman, she was a man. We have both been male lovers in the old Grecian societies. She has been my mother on the Great Plains of Turtle Island. She has been my daughter in La Isla, Borinquen, long ago. I could go on and on and on. She's been my mother in ancient India and Hindustan. She has been my protector and my guardian in ancient Mesopotamia. There are memories that I could give you that wouldn't even make sense to you. I'll put this out there. And this one stunned both of us because I remember her as a mermaid. And that shit is crazy. Because the memories are not limited to this era. My memories are not, or our soul's memories are not limited to this time frame of man. I have memories of what is known as Atlantis. I have a lot of memories of what is known as Lemuria. In fact, on my first CD, I have a song called Lemuria because the memories were just they pour out. In fact, some of my greatest memories are of a place called Aslan. I live in New Mexico right now. I'm in the heart of Aslan. I play the ancient flutes of Aslan. Flutes of Kokopelli. Of the ancient ones. And so these memories, they come all the time. You see, I'm saying all that to say this. Everybody, most everybody you come into contact in your life is not just reflection, but a memory. A memory that your soul hasn't forgotten. If there are people that you've met, you're like, man, it seems like I know you. Duh. The soul never forgets. When you hear a style of music that you're like, ooh, that rhythm feels comfortable or makes you feel homesick. Duh. The soul doesn't forget. And remember, I came from a religion where I used to preach, you die and you're somewhere else forever. And that journey comes full circle with what we discuss as soul scroll, because death, burial, and resurrection, the resurrection is your next life. And a scripture, it is appointed unto man once to die, then the judgment. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You die, and your judgment is your karma. Do you remember the school analogy? This is our education system. We come here, we go through our courses, and it's pass or fail, homie. Pass or fail. If you pass, karma's a blessing. If you fail, karma's a bitch. But just like our educational system, as above, so below, as within, so without, you're not doomed to some eternal bullshit, but you do got to repeat those lessons. And so the reason many are in turmoil is we are repeating these karmic lessons from things that we have done or experienced in other lives. And it's really just that simple. And so, how does Dharma, karma play into this? If everyone found their Dharma, your lives, our existence would be much easier. Of course, our present systems, religions, politics, educational system pull us away from that. You want to know how you know? How to remember? If you can, remember when you were a child, before all the poison, before the cutting of the tethers to the other side. Remember yourself as a child. What did you want to do? What did you want to be? And why? What were you experiencing? You have the answers here. And all the wise ones tell us we have the answers here. Because your soul never forgets. Just simply try taking the time to quiet this so you can hear this. And when you start hearing this and it starts speaking to this, we stop doing the bullshit. What this did for me, particularly after getting out of religion, it showed me why I experienced certain hardships in this life. And so I stopped doing those things, not just to improve karma, but it's the right thing to do. Find your intent, find your Dharma. I'm under the impression that once we find our individual paths, we can become whole. We can heal our current situations so that if we are to endure future lives, we can improve our circumstances, our wisdom, and our knowledge. And not just that, but also our remembering. You see, my gift is the gift of remembrance. And I've had a lot of people say this to me. It must be so cool to have that kind of gift. No, only the ignorant would say this. And I'll give you, for instance, a torture that I had to endure in this. In that Egyptian life, where my current wife was my daughter, I lost her when she was 12 years old. When my wife was my mother in Ireland, I became an orphan at 12 years old. When she was my guardian in ancient Mesopotamia, she lost her life protecting me when I was 12 years old. You see, 12 kept coming up in instances in past lives with her. And so when we were approaching our entire 11th year, it was torture because I was so afraid of our 12th year together. Petrified, overprotective. It's been 18 years now, so we've gotten past that mark. But don't think that just because someone sees things, it can be a curse and it can be a blessing. The blessing is when I help other people with it. The curse is when I see the shit my own self. Just, I see why I went through that. And I've done some shit in other lives that have caused me to suffer some real shit in this life. Just know that what comes around goes around. What you sow, you reap. Because know this, I've also done some great things in other lives. So have you. If you're listening to this, so have you. Now, I cannot tell anyone how to remember. For me, it's natural. I can't say I know how to tell people how to. What I can say is that in listening to the words, the voices, the vibrations, and the stories that people tell me of themselves, their soul is speaking volumes that their mind does not comprehend, because again, your soul doesn't forget. So when you feel those resonations, feel them. Feel them. Take a breath and feel them. When you hear that music that feels reminiscent to your soul, just take a breath and listen. When you taste that foreign food, or that strange food that brings a feeling of homesickness, just take a breath and taste it. And know this, whatever comes to your soul and filters to your mind is the echo of another life. The echo of another life. And then these things affect our future lives. Do unto others as you would have them do. There is a reason for that. And that's a hard thing to do. But what you sow, you reap. Sow beauty and see what you reap. We each have lived so many types of different experiences. And this again comes to the old soul, new soul dichotomy. Some of us have, I consider, I'm what's called a jumper. I go from life to life to life to life. There are many people that do that, many souls that do that. So there are old souls that have lived just life after life after life. And there are some who may not have lived many lives, but have lived various and numerous experience during those limited lives that gives them the experience of what we consider an old soul. There's so much that goes around this wheel of time of death, burial, resurrection, or reincarnation. That's all it is. Death, what you've done, burial, your judgment, resurrection, your next life. It's always been there. Until next time, think deeply, see clearly, and journey well, my beloveds. I love you. Peace.